Okay, all right. Please welcome back. So the next we move for the Reyee Switch series router training. Okay, for Reyee series, just now I mentioned we have two types of series switches. So the first type we call as a MBS series. Another type we call as a ES series, right? So now we move for MBS series switches first, right? For the default IP address for our MBS series switches, always will be 10.44.77.200. Okay, for these switches, right, mostly we are targeting in our this light layer 2 switch, right, or layer 2 plus switches, right. Basically, they're able to perform to configure the VLAN, right. They're also able to create the interface SVI or interface VLAN IP address. Okay, which means we support the L2 plus configuration. So this is a way how we are going to configure the VLAN. Before that, I want to know, anyone of you know about what is a VLAN? Yes, right? Yeah. Okay, so how we are going to configure the MBS switches VLAN, right? So you just need to log into our this SOM page. Okay, they have an overview about our gateway, wireless switches. So you just need to go for the switches, and then both of the switches, they will show all the switches in the list. So which switches you want to go for configuration, right? You just need to click on the manage. Okay, once you click on manage, they will from you these pages, right? So the next will be click on the VLAN, right? We try to add the new VLAN. By default, all the switches of VLAN will be a VLAN 1. Okay, and then the next one, you click on the add VLAN. They will ask you to define the VLAN ID. So you can put some description for the VLAN ID 10. Okay, so once we have created a VLAN, we need to assign the port. Okay, which port is belong to this VLAN 10, right? So we can, based on the bash edit, right? We can select, okay, which port is belong to the VLAN 10. Very easy, right? So we no need to use any command to configure about it. So we just need to select and then point to the correct VLAN. Okay, they want to access to the VLAN 10, right? So after that, you click on OK. So the entire of the VLAN and port assign has been completely done, right? And then the next, we'll move for the ACL. Okay, so for our MBS Reyee switch, right? We supported the ACL, right? We can create an ACL for our switches. We can base on the IP standard ACL. We can base on the MAC-based ACL. Okay, how we are going to configure the ACL easily? We just need to log into our switches, click on the manage. Okay, once inside the switches, we go for security, ACL. And then we try to add the ACL, right? So we need to give the ACL name, for example, ACL 10. So we base on the IP address. Okay, once we done the ACL name, right? Okay, with the profile. Secondly, we want to start to configure the detail. Okay, we need to configure the detail policy. So we can based on the allow or block, okay, situation, which means permit or deny. Okay, permit, deny, and what's the IP protocol? Okay, what's the port number you want to specify based on which source IP address or the source IP range address. Okay, with the subnet mask. Okay, together with the destination IP address. Okay, we can specify for any or specify the 192.168 or something. Right, from here you're able to see we are allowed any of the port, right, based on the source from the 192.168.10.0 subnet 255.255.255.0 to any of the destination. Okay, this is the first policy we have created. Okay, you're able to see from here, right? You're able to create the first policy rules number 1. Okay, once we are done the policy setup, what we want to do? We need to do the binding. We want to bind this policy to certain of the place. Okay, normally we will bind for interface SVI VLAN, right? Or for this model, because it's a 3200, this MPS series is a layer 2 switches, so they does not have any interface SVI VLAN, right? So we can buy the ACL based on the port, right? So we just need to go for the port 1, okay, go to edit, right? And then select the IP-based ACL, right? Choose the ACL name, okay, which is ACL 10. Okay, once we choose this, the entire of the port 1 will be go through by this ACL 10 already. Okay, the in-out traffic also will be checked by ACL 10 policy. Okay, once we click OK, that's all. Okay, for this layer 2 plus MPS 5000 series, right? You're able to applicable this ACL in the interface SVI VLAN. Okay, for the you are able to have done the same thing. Okay, send set up for the interface SVI VLAN. Okay, more and less, we are finished for the ACL. The next, we are going to port isolation. So these switches, we are supported the port isolation features. So how we are going to configure the port isolation? We just need to go to manage, right? Go to security, port protection. Okay, port protection, which means port isolation, right? Once we are selected the port protection, you need to specify which port you are going to turn on the port isolation features. So for S number, from here, port 27 and 28, they are going to enable the port isolation for these 2 ports, right? Between these 2 ports, the data traffic in out from these 2 ports, right? They are only going to sending the broadcast traffic between these 2 ports as well. Okay, they will direct traffic to other port. Okay, they are only going to port 27 and 28 because there will be port isolation. Normally, this type of configuration will be configured in the public area, like the port dedicated is connected with the public meeting room. Okay, anyone also can accessible, right? We will turn on the port isolation for this particular of the port. Okay, to produce some security to protect this port, right? To visit other port. Okay, this port visit to the other port. Okay. So port security we have been completed. The next will be DHCP snooping. What is the DHCP snooping? Our switches also supported the DHCP snooping, right, to prevent the second DHCP server happening in your network as well, right? So how we are going to configure this setting? So you just need to log into the switches, click on the manage, right? Go to security, DHCP snooping. Okay. Enable the DHCP snooping features, right? And then we need to select which port we are trusted as a DHCP server. Okay, for S number, this port 45, we are trusted as a DHCP server, right? So no matter I bring any of the DHCP server plug into your switches, right? The DHCP packet will be dropped immediately for this all the port. It's not trusted. Okay, this is what we can offering to you as a DHCP snooping, okay, to protect your environment. They have a second DHCP server happening in your network. Okay, so this is a way how you are going to configure it. So this port will be trust, always will be sent in out for requests for the DHCP traffic only. Right. The other port will be dropped immediately. Okay. So this is configuration. And then the next, this Reyee switches, we also support link aggregation. Okay, we supported port channel, right? But we does not support LACP. Okay, we support mode active, we support mode passive, we support mode on, but we not support LACP. Okay, if you require the switches support LACP, please propose your customer to buy Ruijie switches. Ruijie switches, yes. Ruijie switches support LACP, mode on, mode active, mode passive, right? So for Reyee MPS series, how we are going to do the port channel link aggregation. So this is the way, right? You just need to go for the switches, go for manage, okay, go to aggregate port, okay, go to port, aggregate port. So we need to create a virtual interface, okay, for these two physical port, because we want to combine these two physical port become one logical port, right? From here, we give the virtual port number, aggregate port 2. Okay, the virtual port is number 2. And then these two physical port is belong to this virtual logical port, right? So this is the way how we are going to do the port channel. Basically, from this loop balance for our link aggregation port channel, right? By default, is a source and destination map. Okay, you can train for different loop balance algorithm, like source and destination IPA, right? We also support for it. Okay, this is a basic setup we can be configured in our MPS series switches, right? It's not much thing you can configure, right? Like you have mentioned the IGMP snooping, right? Not support in our MPS. Okay, IGMP layer 3 setting not available in our MPS series switches. Okay, that's why if you require IGMP snooping or anything, right, please go for Reyee family product. Okay, so Reyee will be on targeting for enterprise level and the SME level. Reyee product family is targeting for SMB until SOHO level. So they have a different of the level between these two brands. Okay, don't mess up. So you need to fully understand all the features first. Only you can easily to propose to your customer. Okay, now we move for the ES series switches. Normally, this ES series switches is very suitable for this CCTV vendor, right? They are built for exactly for this ELV vendor as well. Okay, by default, the serial number of the IP address for the ES series switches also will be sent by 10.44.77.200, right? For the configuration, right, the ES switches also supported the VLAN, right? We can support the VLAN. So how we are going to configure the VLAN? So same thing, you need to log into the SON overview page, select the switches, create or manage, right? And then you can see totally the interface is different with the MPS. Okay, for ES is quite straightforward, okay, and basic and clear, and they have a clear overview for you, right? So when you are going need to have a configure the VLAN, right? You need to turn on, okay, turn on the VLAN. For Reyee product, only all the switches, right, until the MPS 3000 series, all is a layer 2 switches, okay? But MPS 5000 series, like layer 2, okay, like layer 2 switches. Okay, please take note. So let's say for your these switches, maybe you need to have a IP routing. You need to involve IP routing. You need to embed, okay, together with EG to complete your this requirement. Okay, no matter you need to have this layer 3 switches, right? You need to propose together with the EG as well. Okay, for Reyee solution, right? So for VLAN setting, you just need to turn on. Okay, for ES switches, you need to enable the VLAN. Okay, you need to enable the VLAN because they are consider the CPU performance, memory performance. By right, the VLAN setting will be disabled. So if you want to create more than 2 VLAN, so you need to enable the VLAN by yourself by this button, right? And then the next, you scrolling down, okay, scrolling down the page until the VLAN member. Okay, go to create a second VLAN. So from here, for example, we want to create a VLAN 10. So we just need to type in 10 and then add in, right? So once we are at the VLAN successfully, the next we want to assign the VLAN to the particular of the port. So how we are going to select the port, assign the VLAN to the particular of the port, right? So you just need to go for VLAN setting, right? And then select the port. Okay, you go to port, select the port, which port you want to select is belong to the VLAN 10. Okay, once you've done it, you just save it for the ES series switches. Okay, totally the GUI is different between the MPF with the ES. Okay, and then the ES switches also support the port isolation, right? So this is the step how you are going to configure the port isolation. So just log in the ES switches, go to basic setting, choose the port isolation. And then for this time, for ES series, right, once you turn on the port isolation, right, all the port will be going to turn on the port isolation. You cannot select the port, okay, which port you want to port isolation on it, okay. But MBS, yes, MBS you can do by selection, which port you want to turn on port isolation. Because the ELV switches, yes, basically we design all the LAN port will be turned on the port isolation because they are mostly will be using by the CCTV camera, right? Only the uplink will not turn on the port isolation. You can see the ES switches, right? All the LAN port on the front, right? On the front side, right? They as a LAN port, they will join together. They only will be have a extra separate port as an uplink on the behind of the switches. So you can easily to know ES switches, right? They have a lot of LAN port in front, and then they will have a isolated dedicated uplink port on the behind, right? So the behind port, they will not turn on the port isolation, right? But the LAN port will be turned on the port isolation. You cannot select which port you want to turn on, right? Please take note, this is a ES switches behavior. Okay, and then the next we will move for the DHCP snooping. The DHCP snooping, right? Basically, we also supported in the ES switches. Okay, so how we are going to turn on the DHCP snooping? So you just need to log into the switches, go to basic setting, enable the DHCP snooping. Right? After enable, we need to trust. Okay, we need to trust which port is connected to the DHCP server. Only this trust port able to send and receive DHCP packet, right? The acknowledgement packets, request package, offer package, they're only able to go through with this trust interface, right? So someone to bring the TP-Link router, Aruba router, any of the router, D-Link router plug to this network, right? They're trying to broadcast a DHCP, right? All this port will be dropped the DHCP request and offer packet. Okay, to avoid this network have a multiple DHCP server happening in your network. Okay, so rather than that, the speed rate limit we are supported in our switches, which means you can configure our switches with the speed rate limit. Let's say you can control this port only allow 10 meg, 2 meg, 30 meg, 20 meg. It's up to you. You can configure the value by yourself, right? How you are going to configure it? So log into the switches, right? So you need to specify which port, okay? Which port is belong to the rate limit. Okay, mostly we will be targeting this public area physical port to this meeting room, right? Maybe a LAN port. We want to limit the bandwidth, right? So we can based on the port itself, right, to control it, rate limit. Okay, this is not the link speed. This is not link speed. This is a rate limit we are talking about, right? And then our this MBS Reyee portfolio switches, right? We are supported long distance PoE. What's a long distance PoE? For general, the PoE connection between the devices to the devices is always will be recommended not more than 100 meters, right? Okay, but with this long distance PoE, we are targeting for the camera CCTV customer, right? We can support the camera with the cable with our switches, right? The maximum distance will be 250 meters. Okay, our switches can put up the network cable to your camera until the maximum 250 meters. You can power up the PoE to your camera, and then you can receive and sending the data in 250 meters, okay, by UTP cable. But they have one condition will be reduced. The bandwidth will be reduced, right? Once you are carrying longer than 100 meters, right, to the 250 meters, right, the bandwidth for the port will be reduced until 10 meg. Okay, so the camera, let's say this is a 170 meg, right? So the camera will be connected successfully with the 10 meg because the traffic will be sending back to the switches is limited. Okay, only have a 10 meg. It's sufficient to cover for the HD camera, even though the 4 megabyte camera nowadays. right? Because nowadays they are using the compression technology, so they are not require much of the bandwidth between the camera with the MER. So 10 meg is sufficient for the 4 meg camera already, right? We are supported for the long PoE. So how we are going to configure about long distance PoE for our Reyee switches, right? This is a mobile view, how we are going to configure it. Log into your this Ruijie Cloud application, select your profile. Next, choose your switches, and then go for the long distance transmission. Okay, so for Reyee brand switches, right, there's a one benefit for you for the long distance transmission. Reyee switches, they can select the particular of the port, which port I want to turn on the long distance transmission. But certain of the brand, right, they are not supported about these selected features. Okay, once you turn on the long distance transmission, all the port will be long transmission. Okay, but Reyee switches, yes, you can select which port you want to turn on the long distance transmission. Right? So for GUI, okay, for browser view, how we are going to configure a long distance PoE, right? You just need to log in for our this GUI for our browser switches, and then just go for this basic setting, port setting, select the port. Let's say port 1 I connected to the long distance PoE camera. So I just need to specify the speed, right, to 10 meg. Okay, I need to specify the link speed for this port is 10 meg. By default, once you change for 10 meg, right, this port will be go for long distance supported, right, for your camera. Okay, so there does not have any button, okay, to let you to click on the long distance for our PC browser view. Okay, please take note about it. You just need to change for 10 meg. They will automatically turn on the long distance features. Okay, the next we will move for our our gimmick highlight features is a loop prevention. For our ES series switches, right, we are supported the loop prevention. Okay, they were based on several of the scenario. So for the first scenario, when their broadcast will be sent by the switches, okay, not received by itself, okay, which means the switches send out the broadcast traffic each of the port, okay. If not received by itself, it means the network no loop. Okay, here is first how we are going to detecting the loop for each port. Okay, that means our port keeps sending the traffic going out, broadcast traffic. Once the broadcast traffic detected, receiving back to our switches, right, which means your network has a loop happening. So what will happen when the broadcast send the interface, right? The loop is under interface is forwarding back to the interface itself, right? They will automatically shut down the port, okay, to prevent the loop. So the interface light will be still on, okay, will be flashing one every 2 seconds. So you can easily to know which port is have a loop happen. Which means the port every 2 seconds they will flashing one time, 2 seconds flashing one time, right? Which means the port is prevented by loop prevention. Okay, so the regularly the port itself also will be keep sending the looping packet again. Okay, they will send the checking packet every 2 seconds until your loop traffic has been solved, right? The port itself will be automatic turn on again. Okay, that means every 2 seconds they will keep sending the loop traffic sending out to the port until your problem solved. The receiving of the broadcast data, right, not received after 5 times they are sending out. The interface will be automatic turn on back, okay, to let you to use again. Right, this is a behavior, okay, how this loop prevention happening, okay, between your switches, or you are using connected to other switches happening loop, right? These switches also will be block for this happening, right? Okay, so these are some scenario. Even though you are done the looping by yourself, okay, they also will be detected and block it. Or you can detect it, okay, for other switches. When the other switches, they have a wrong broadcast tone, right? The LTP packet will be automatically sent back to the same interface. They also will be blocked. Okay, we are considered it's a loop happening. these switches also have this kind of intelligence to prevent this kind of happen. Right? There's some video. It's just showing you a short video saying that this guy trying to do some looping in our switches, but the camera of the CCTV, the video is still smooth after the loop created. Right? Okay, this we turn on the loop prevention. Okay, you can see once they are turned on the loop prevention, once they are create the loop will be blocked by our switches, and then the switch is not going to hang situation. Right? So that's all for this Reyee switches. Now we are moved for the FAQ section. What is the default IP address of our Reyee switches? I think you can remember this IP already. How many times I've been mentioned today? I just remember in your mind. 77,200. Okay. And then our NPS switches support LSCP or not? No. No. Answer is no. NPS switches not support link aggregation LSCP. Okay. Reyee device support telnet or console login or not?
No.
No. Yes. Okay. Reyee devices support stacking BSU? No.
No.
No. Okay. Remember, Reyee switches not support stacking, not support virtualize, right? So if you need stacking,
I forget what is this.
Cascaded, yes. Yeah, cascaded VLAN, yes. You can do cascaded VLAN. But stacking, no. Okay, we are talking about virtualized, right? If you need virtualized stacking, please go for Reyee. Okay, Reyee, yes, Reyee support. Okay, they have some these are basic troubleshooting need me to mention to you. Some sort like ES series switches, right? By right, we does not have any troubleshooting tools, okay, in the GUI. So normally how we are going to troubleshoot with the ES series switches, maybe you are facing network issue, DNS resolve issue, or firmware issue, right? So you need to connect one of the laptop to the ES switches. Please make sure your laptop, the IP address range, right, is similar with your ES switches, right? So you can using your laptop to do the NS lookup, to do the ping test to your this Ruijie Cloud, right? See whether they can connect to a Ruijie Cloud or not. Okay, and then even though you can do some NS lookup, okay, to whether you are resolve the correct public IP from our Ruijie Cloud. Okay, it's belong to the Singapore server. It's not connected to the Germany server, right? And then next, the last will be always update to the latest firmware. Okay, if you have any problem, okay, or factory reset the entire configuration. This is what is our advice during you are facing your ES switches cannot connect to the Ruijie Cloud. Okay, you cannot do any of troubleshooting within the switches, so you need to use your laptop to help you to do it.
Thanks for watching.